it's Lon Welsh at Your Castle Real Estate, and buyers are often curious, especially if it's the first time they've purchased a house or a condo, what does the overall process look like? So we've got this little flow chart here showing you some of the major steps that most buyers usually will go through in the order that most of them tend to experience the process. So the first thing you want to do is get pre-approved for your loan. So when you talk to your lender, they're just going to need your last couple of tax returns, your bank statements, the pay stubs from your check, from your paycheck, and usually within like a couple of hours they can tell you you're approved for a loan and it's going to be for this many dollars. And then you know what sort of search you should set up in the MLS, because there's really no reason for you to be looking at houses that are beyond your price range, just sort of a waste of time. And then set up the online search and then start looking at some in person. I've got a different video that talks about how the search funnel works, and that'll give you a lot more detail on this step. When you start looking at the homes in person, if you haven't had a chance to go visit a lot of open houses, and of course in this year of COVID you probably haven't, you might be surprised pleasantly in some ways that, wow, some of these things are nicer than I expected, and you might be disappointed in others that, gosh, I thought I was also going to be able to get this, this, and this at this price range. So the first 3 homes or 6 homes that you look at, typically there'll be a process of discovery, figuring out what's realistic in your home search, and then what trade-offs will you have to make with what you can afford versus the list of things that you want to get. You'll eventually find a house that is a pretty good compromise that meets most of what you want at a price you can afford, and you'll write an offer on it. Currently in our market, we're often experiencing where there's multiple offers for a house, but not all of the time. So if you don't get the first house, write offers on a couple more, and usually within 2 or 3, you'll usually get one of them under contract. So once you get it under contract, the first thing that usually happens after that is you'll hire a property inspector, and if you don't know one, your realtor will be able to recommend a couple to you, and they'll do a really detailed multiple-hour review of the furnace and the plumbing, the electrical and the roof and the foundation and lots of other things in the house, just to double check all the things are the way that you'd want them to be and the house is in good condition. If there's any deficiencies, they'll give you a list in the inspection report of things that might need to be fixed. And then if there is a big problem, or even like a medium-sized problem, you and the seller, with the help of your realtor, will negotiate what's called an inspection resolution, and you'll figure out which things the seller will fix and which things will be your responsibility after you close on the house. Once you're through that process, the next step is to call your lender back, say, hey, we found a house, here's the contract, we're through the inspection, we like it, it's time for us to order an appraisal. And the lender will handle that for you. Usually it takes about 7 days or so, sometimes a little faster. But that's just an independent check to make sure the price that you've offered in your contract is in good alignment with market reality, so the lender's making a good loan, so they feel confident about the process. And then once that's complete, then there's a couple smaller steps, but they're all small milestones relative to those 2 large ones. Usually the entire process from going under contract to closing, at least here in Colorado, will take 30 to 40 days. So while you're waiting for the appraisal, you can do things like take a look over the HOA, Homeowners Association, if there is one. Make sure there's nothing about their policies that disagree with what you need. An example of that might be if you've got like a large RV, recreational vehicle, and you want to park it in front of your house. In some neighborhoods that's not allowed, in some neighborhoods it is. So if that was a hot button for you, that'd be something for sure that you'd want to check on. You'll want to set up your insurance with State Farm or Geico or whoever your insurance carrier is going to be, get that all squared away. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, your lender will be finishing off the underwriting. They'll get the appraisal back. It's very uncommon for appraisals not to come in at value, so there probably won't be any kind of an issue with that. And then they'll draw up the documents. A couple days before the closing, you'll get your document package, so you can review a lot of that, and then you go to the closing and sign your name about 600 times or so it'll feel like, and then the house is yours. So that's the whole process.